Ryan, do you want to kick us off here?
Yeah. So, should we do the most pivotal picks, or should we move with trades? What do you want to do?
We'll talk about the teams first before we get into
Teams.
specific player teams. So,
Okay.
all right, let's talk about some pivotal teams slash picks. Here's how this is gonna work. There are teams who are coming at what I believe to be the crossroads of their rebuild, contention, and this is kind of the idea is where there are teams who got to get this draft right in a way, and I think they're running out of time per se. So again, without further ado, I'll get right into it. My 101, pick 101 if we're drafting. The Minnesota Vikings need to get this draft right because you think about the last 5-ish years since they brought in Quessio Dofamensa, who has since been fired for his poor track record. You think about the guys who are still on the roster, like Lewis Seen is a first round pick from a few years ago, gone. Andrew Booth is a second round pick, gone. Jordan Addison is someone who is, since he stepped onto the team, has been an issue off the field. They drafted, of course, the J.J. McCarthy, trading up a fourth round pick to get McCarthy. McCarthy's just phased out now with the Kyler Murray signing.
Yeah.
Dallas Turner has been a plus in year two, and then last year it's too early to see on Donovan Jackson. But again, the idea of
He was
drafting
good when
Donovan Jackson
yeah.
next to Ryan Kelly and Will Fries is you have a dominant interior, and they did not have that in 2025. This to make JJ McCarthy's life easier, and that did not happen. So again, and then like even like Ty Felton is someone who just didn't get on the field. Again, he's going to replace Jalen Naylor who left, but I think the Vikings they're running out of time here, and Kevin O'Connell is running out of time. We're officially at year 5, no playoff wins, multiple deep like
Double digit.
big regular season victory seasons, and nothing to show for it, flat out. And so you get the
Might
quarterback
I
right.
might I add to your to strengthen your case? It's really weird the situation that they're in, and I would say uncommon, just because they didn't hire a GM after
Mm-hmm.
firing Quessio Mensa.
Yeah.
They're operating with their interim GM going into, actually, I would say both scenarios, like, or both of the biggest main events of the offseason. You're addressing this massive situation in May or June of this year, and they might
Yep.
just promote him from inside, which at that point, like, if he was there all along, like, and I mean, just to put this in worse terms, I mean, I guess, I don't know, depending on how you think about it, but like, if the Bears had fired Ryan Poles and promoted Ian Cunningham, I would have been like, what was the point? Like, the same guy from the same room is still making the same decisions. Like, how much different could it be? And like you were saying, as of recent years, like the Vikings have not had a strong draft. Like, they've been building from free agency and aging players. So like, looking at this, I don't think you're necessarily wrong. But I mean, to your point, I do think that there are other teams as well, and I'm gonna let Ben get to his before I get to mine. I just wanted to strengthen your point a little bit. I am passionate about that opinion there.
Yeah, and they're in a good division. Like they've
Yeah.
got the quarterback for literally crumbs. Kyler Murray is
Yep.
going to be a top 18 quarterback
Yeah.
for the minimum. Like that's even
Hmm.
cheaper or about the range of what Purdy was at his peak. So again,
Yeah.
like this is a cheat code that you are getting right off the bat, and again, you fire the GM because there's a struggle.
Yeah. Ben.
Yeah. Yeah. No, mine, I'm taking a page out of your book here, Matt. For me, it's the Bills because you've had so much success. But again, in that same vein, you've had so much success as a team, but you've not been able to get over that hump and get to the Super Bowl. And a lot of that has just come off the backs of like not really being able to draft any good players with your high picks. Like over the last 3 years, and I don't want to like poop too much on Maxwell Harrison because he was a rookie, right? but that pick is a really washy pick so far. TJ Sanders, Landon Dickerson were just your best pick from 2025 was your 4th-round pick in Deion Walker, which was like good. You go back to the previous year, that was Keon Coleman, which we have now like trashed publicly in a press conference. And your only like good pick from that draft was Cole Bishop. And then you go to the year prior, which like Dalton Kincaid is a good player, but like that pick just kind of seems a little useless because you already have another really good tight end in the room that we're paying. So it's just a mix of like, you're a really good team, but you haven't been able to get over that hump because you haven't actually been able to invest like really good cap. You have not been able to get good return on your cap. Oh my goodness, on your draft picks.
Capital.
We'll use that word. We're struggling here today, guys. And then you like switch over to like Brandon Beane kind of just sucks. Like, I have no clue how we came out on the other side of this power struggle with Brandon Beane being on top. And we've seen him being on top, and the one move he made was for DJ Moore, which has been a horrific value for him. Like, you're looking at what other wide receivers are going for, and you gave up way too much for even that. So the Bears or the Bills have to get some good value out of their players here, or this whole Brandon Beane at the realm could end very, very quickly, which might not be the worst thing.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where the Bills go as well, just because like there are some wide receivers that I'm seeing mocked towards that back like quarter of the first round, right? And I think even though, and I believe I was reading about it as well, even though they moved for DJ, I really don't think that they're done yet at receiver.
Yeah.
I really don't. I'm kind of getting that vibe. So I think that there's a chance that we could see a big splash like that. And you're also seeing a new head coach. This is a completely new scenario that, they could be going into it and different mindset altogether. Give your head coach what he wants in the first round. It worked out.
But in the same vein, like we're hiring from within too. Right, like
yeah.
the same thing that we just did with the Vikings. Like we just already hired a guy that was in the building when we spent our entire press conference trashing about the guy that we just fired that was in the building. So it seems very dysfunctional, and the best way to fix that is by drafting very good. So Bills, you better get it right.
My team, just jumping off of dysfunctional. I'm going to go with the Cowboys. So the Cowboys, in my opinion, they have a monumental draft as well. Any team that's going to have 2 first-round picks, and I was considering the Browns as well, but the Browns don't have what the Cowboys do, and that's a potential playoff team there, right? I think, Dak's not getting any younger, right? Like you have to capitalize off of him and his contract at some point in time. And by the way, you still got to re-sign George Pickens. This dude, I guarantee you, George Pickens is not going to play on that franchise tag. We're going to take a slight break. I'm going to continue this point here in a second. So like I was saying, he's not going to play on that franchise tag. And you traded away one of the best edge rushers in the entire league in Micah Parsons. And looking at mock drafts as well, you're seeing guys like Dylan Thieneman and Akeem Mesidor as well going to the Cowboys. And I do think that those would be impactful picks. However, their defense was pretty horrendous. I think that you have to get these picks right. If they suck and you did it wrong, like you just threw away half of your trade capital from the Micah trade, and you look even dumber than you did before. So I think it's going to be pretty exciting as far as where, they're going to go. It's going to be one of those teams that I watch for. And, I'll just go on and say it too, because I had mentioned them previously. The Browns as well have 2 first-round picks.
It's the same thing for the
And
Jets. Yeah.
yes, and I'm saying the Browns specifically because I believe they have an out with Deshaun Watson after this year. It's either this year
Yeah.
or next year. So with that, what are they going to build on? Are they going to continue rolling with Shadur Sanders? Are they looking at other options this year or next year? Like, regardless of what you're planning on doing, Myles Garrett is going to be a part of this team, so your defense is going to be decent. And the Browns are like the biggest dogfight of the league. It's so crazy. Like, they're going to compete. It's really weird. They're going to lose. They're going to lose. But like,
Yeah.
they compete. They stay in the fight.
But they're going to
regardless.
Dan Campbell their way into these games.
Yeah, like, I mean, unless you're playing the Bears, in which you just get curb stomped. But my thing is like, if you make the improvements and you continue building, I'm a massive fan of building the team first before the quarterback. And I think they have yet to find the quarterback. I'm not a fan of any of the four quarterbacks they have on the roster, three quarterbacks they have on the roster right now. Like, if they go into next year's draft and they look decent outside of the quarterback position they can get one, I would say they're in a better spot. I mean, 2 draft picks though. Like you said, you can say the same about the Jets.
I was going to say, you can echo all of those same sentiments to the Jets. And to your Cowboy point, again, they, despite some of the moves and despite moving off a player the caliber of Micah Parsons, you have set yourself up very well in terms of draft capital. It is now important. Why can I not say that word? It is now important to make sure that you see that through. Because it's all fine and dandy to say, well, look at all these picks that we have. Well, it's not going to matter if those picks don't turn into any good players. So we'll see. But again, it could be huge for them because you could have traded Micah Parsons away for 3 high caliber players, or you could have just traded Micah Parsons away for a whole bunch of guys that burned up and are out of the league in 3 years and don't even get a second contract.
It's interesting as well to see I'm excited to see where they're at next year because, like, I, for one, obviously Bears fan, I'm not big on the Packers roster this year. I think they're significantly lacking on the offensive side when it comes to weapons for Jordan Love. Now, I don't think that should come as a surprise to anybody, but my thing is like, they have next year, or the Cowboys have next year's pick for Green Bay as well. Like, and I mean this in the most unbiased way possible. Like, I genuinely think they just traded him to the wrong team because, yes, it's cool that you have 2 first-round picks, but they're also they're coming from a team that constantly competes. Like,
well, that was a non-competing team was going to trade for Micah.
And I mean, I feel like that's arguable, but like, it's just interesting to know, like, for one, like, it could go either way. Like, the Packers could very well be a top 15 or a bottom 15 team next year, in my opinion. Genuinely speaking, they got worse. And, so with that being said, it's like, okay, so what are you going to do about it this year? And then next year, what position are you going to be in to make a better pick? Like, if you're going to suck, be really bad. And then hopefully the Packers are really bad so you can get 2 top 15 picks. But like, it's so interesting, the Cowboys position specifically, because I feel like there's more pressure on them than there is the Browns or the Jets because, yes, you have those 2 picks. Exactly. And you've got the quarterback right. Like, Dak Prescott is a fine quarterback, at least in the regular season. Like, if you can build on that and find the pieces, you're going to be all right. But we will be right back.
That is all for the pivotal teams portion of this segment. Ryan, again, you've been gone long enough. What does that make you do? It makes you conjure up takes. All right. So this segment, kind of your own little corner here. What are some takes you're sitting on as we head into, next week's draft?
Yeah. First off, whoever the Chiefs and Packers take, they're going to be complete busts and no excuse. I mean, it's just
I don't know. Those are
no.
two organizations who drafted really well.
Yeah.
Nah. All right. So my real takes. So number one, I think day 2, the Bears in the second round will have found their DJ Moore replacement. Yes, I understand. Roma
Was Luther
Doomsday.
Bird
Luther.
not that?
Nope.
It's
Nope.
better.
We're gonna you
Yeah.
yes. You have to look at our depth chart. It's ridiculous. Like looking at Jade Walker and being like, "Oh, you're our wide receiver 3." That makes my stomach upset. It's really gross. I don't like it. We're gonna draft a wide receiver by the end of the second round. I guarantee it. Literally just because I'm unsure about it. This next one, I have a complete trade package for, and maybe we'll get into it a little bit later. But this take is something I don't see very often. I do not think the Raiders should pick at number 1. I think they should trade the pick. I think they should trade out of the pick, take the haul. You signed Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins needs to be the starter for at least 1 year, right? Shall I? Should I? This is my last take, by the way, that I have in my little corner of this episode. But should I tell you guys what this trade package is, and then segue into what else you guys think could happen on draft night?
I think it's important to dissect both of those takes. Again, I don't know how much back and forth we want to do with this. My big concern with the Bears in terms of drafting a wide receiver, right, is y'all have so many more pressing needs that like are up front that need to be taken care of before we can start thinking of drafting a depth wide receiver. Depth is that's what day 3 is for. That is what for round 3 is for. That's for all of that, right? Let's figure out what we're doing at edge rusher. Let's figure out what we're doing at defensive tackle. Let's figure out what we're doing at safety. Let's figure out what we might even be doing at offensive tackle, right? Before we can even start thinking about drafting a wide receiver 3 in the second round. And then really quickly to the Raiders thing.
Hold on. Before you go beyond that, I just want to rebuttal this and say you have to understand who you're talking about, because the Bears last year had several more holes to fill, and they drafted a tight end 10th overall. Like, yes, Colson Loveland is good. No, I'm not complaining about the pick. But at the time, it was very much my complaint that we have several other things that we could have done. And
but
we
wouldn't
I think that's Ben's point. Is that the holes outweigh the wide receiver 3, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying you have an offensive
you guys
head
drafted
coach, and
that.
I swear to you, I just don't see a world in which we leave the first 2 rounds without another offensive weapon for Ben Johnson. And I think it's going to be at a wide receiver spot. I genuinely feel that. It's not just to be controversial or anything either.
That's fair. My thing is you guys have holes and other needs that need to be filled. You guys skipped that last year. We need to fill it now. You guys drafted a tight end in round 1, and then you drafted a wide receiver in round 2, and you skipped all of that last year. So you got all the fun, fancy players that Ben Johnson wants and needs last year. So now let's figure it out this year. And I would argue it would be malpractice if they don't do that. I understand wanting to lean into your what your coaches want, but you did that. You did that already. It's time to fill other holes, other needs elsewhere.
I want to know what you were going to say about the Raiders, because you were going to say something about the Raiders, and I cut you off.
Yeah, the big thing is you mentioned Kirk Cousins. I think they signed Kirk Cousins specifically to mentor Fernando Mendoza, right? Like it wasn't like we're signing Kirk Cousins to be our starter. We're signing Kirk Cousins because that is who we hope like one day Fernando Mendoza is going to at least be at the peak of what Kirk Cousins was with his first couple years with the Vikings. So we're going to bring this guy in to mentor Fernando Mendoza, and it wasn't. We're going to bring Kirk Cousins in so we don't have to draft Fernando Mendoza.
I think we're so here's my reasoning, brother. So that's exactly what I was gonna. So here's the thing. So I said if it doesn't work out, if Kirk Cousins doesn't work out, then you trade Crosby at the deadline. Okay, this is what I was cooking up. If you remember, I was like, guys, I'm cooking. This is great. If it doesn't work out, Crosby gets moved at the deadline, Cousins gets benched, and you get back in contention for number 1 overall. And I'll get to who you're trading for or trading with. Crosby almost landed you 2 first-round picks. I think he'll still go for around the same package. So let's just, in this hypothetical, say he still goes for 2 first-round picks. And in this case, it would be in the middle of the 2026 to 2027 season. So you're talking a 27 first and a 28 first, right? So imagine, and this is where the trade comes into play. Raiders trade number 1 overall to the Cardinals for Marvin Harrison Jr., a disgruntled wide receiver that clearly isn't working out in Arizona. Number 3 overall, a 2027 first, a 2027 third, and a 2028 second. So overall, just by moving back 2 spots and trading Max Crosby, which, yes, I understand is a big move, you get a grand total of 4 firsts over the next 3 years, a second, a third, and Marvin Harrison Jr. You'll have a grand total of 3 shots at Jeremiah Smith next year as well. So not to mention, I believe, so you'll have Jeremiah Smith and Marvin Harrison Jr. in the same offense, and then you'll also have potential to get another quarterback as well. Like, you'll have plenty of time to figure out, who that quarterback's going to be, and not to mention, there's another edge rusher in the draft. If you want to get younger, if you don't want to pay a guy like Max Crosby, like, you've got Bain, who we decided, Ben, is the number 1 guy in this draft. Like, yes. Go ahead and pick Bain at 3. You've got a quarterback. You've got a wide receiver. Go ahead and get your edge rusher. Make him, you've got 5 years with that. And now you move forward with another young wide receiver. I mean, I don't know when the last time you guys looked at their depth chart. It's hideous when it comes to the receiver position. And that's why I'm like, listen, it's not the time. I genuinely don't think it's the time to be drafting a quarterback. This is not the offense to throw a rookie quarterback in. If you're drafting a rookie quarterback, you need, and this is my own philosophy. I understand. I mentioned it earlier. If you're going to draft a rookie quarterback, you need to have the team at least halfway built for him, right? And I understand you have G&T, and I understand that you have Bowers, but your receivers are garbage. Your top 3 are Tucker, Naylor, and Beck. Like, let's get a weapon for the next guy.
Hey, buddy, Dante Thornton, you better watch it.
But I'm just saying, like, who's looking at that wide receiver room and being like, yeah, like, let's throw this rookie quarterback in first round. Like, I'm not necessarily, to be honest with you, I have my doubts about how Mendoza is going to, handle it. I'm very much in the minority here. It's fine, and I can be wrong. I'm okay with that. But I'm just saying, I don't know how I feel about Mendoza on the pro level. That's its own episode. But my thing is, why wouldn't you? If you can get that much of a haul for just 2 things, why wouldn't you? You're clearly not in the position to contend for a division yet, and you're not going to be with Mendoza anytime soon. You're going to wreck this kid's momentum and overall confidence going into the league. It's just not a good situation, and this is exactly why I think what I do.
Yeah, I think a lot of that hinges on a lot of stuff first, right? Like, your first, it hinges on a team even like willing to give up that stuff in the first place. And then it's also really like contingent on, are you getting 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby? Which at this point, like, I don't know if you were. Like, the Ravens were the only team that were offering that, and that's why the Raiders made that trade, and now you're like, oh, now he has injury concerns. But I mean, if you're the Raiders and you're offered that, I could absolutely see them taking that.
If it's the trade
Um,
deadline and Max Crosby's got 6 sacks on the season in 8 weeks and he's played every single week, there's a team out there that's
And he's
willing
a
to give
year
up that much.
older.
he's older. Yeah, he's older.
It's Max Crosby. Okay, throw in. Okay, instead of a second first round pick, it's going to be a second. Like it's going to be a first and a
Yeah,
second.
I just
And I mean, we're talking semantics here. Whether it's a first round pick or not, you're still going to have 2 shots at Jeremiah Smith next year, and you'll still have 2 second round picks as well. So you'll have back to back rounds in the top, 60, 64 picks to where you'll have four picks. That's great in next year's draft.
Yeah, it's for me. I think it's a matter of the unknown aspect of it too, right? Like you don't know what next year's quarterback draft class is going to look like. You don't know if you're going to be in the position to take it, and like, is a team going to want to trade out of position to get Jeremiah Love or Jeremiah Smith? Probably not, because he's that good of a guy. So it's the the bird in the hand situation. Take the devil versus the one you don't is kind of where I fall on that. But again, I don't want to poo poo on the idea. If you're offered it, I could see them taking
It's
it.
an
So
uncommon opinion. I don't
yeah,
hate the fact that you disagree with it. I was kind of anticipating it. Matt, I
yeah,
haven't heard from you though. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're trying to middle it too much. I think because the last team to really trade a future first where we thought, oh, that's a really good first is when the Texans traded for Will Anderson. And so like CJ Stroud and Will Anderson kind of revitalized the Texans rebuild, and that pick ends up being what, in the 20s? So like
yeah,
I think just trying to taking your, and you also don't get to pick when you pick number one. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just you earn the reward to get number one. And if you're not number one, then you have to trade all of the pieces that you just said to get number one. So again, like I think there's just too much middling. I think this more stems on your disbelief in Mendoza more so
yeah.
than like, oh, the Raiders roster is not that good. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that's the
I
point.
do like their defensive position or additions. I
Mm-hmm.
do. I will say that. I will compliment them there. But offensively,
Yeah.
it's just
It's just there's too much middling where it's like you need the bets to go right. And I don't blame you as a Bears fan because the Bears bets went right like in 2024 to where they get the 9th pick and they get the receiver they want without having to move. And oh, by the way, the Bryce Young trade pick becomes Caleb Williams, the number 1 pick that they earn. So again, like I think there's just too much middling behind it to where you're just playing a dangerous game to me. Where I think Mendoza is 7th on my board. I think he's well worth the selection. If he becomes Jared Goff within time, you can win with Jared Goff, certainly. Clint Kubiak has won with Sam Darnold when you get the offensive scheme kind of right. And who's to say, like, even with Mendoza, I'd rather just have my own capital and maybe I get Jeremiah Smith anyway. So, yeah, that's kind of my driven home point. But
well. I gave
I
you guys
thought
a
of this with
trade.
Ben, like this a few weeks ago when we did a mock draft. I threw out the Jets trading up to 2
We
because,
did that was fun. Yeah,
what if, like, it's, again, like, because he is not the cleanest quarterback prospect I've ever seen get
he
picked
has
number
Yeah.
one.
flaws.
It's just the
Yeah, oh
fact
yeah.
that there is only one.
Well, I gave you guys a trade. Do you guys have any draft night trades that you guys have in mind?
Cowboys, wherever it is.
Ryan, you're not going to believe it. You took my player. Marvin Harrison is the player that I thought of that could be moved on draft night, just because when you think about because he is right now, he is the 3rd passing option. Trey McBride and Michael Wilson are better players right now than him. And so when you think about, you have to make a decision on his 5th-year option next season as the 4th overall pick. And so I think I've run the number, like that's over 20 million and fully guaranteed. I don't know. I'm kind of, I don't want to say I'm out on the player, But in a receiver draft that I don't have a lot of guarantees outside of the top 3, what if there's a team left at the altar, as I like to call it, who's in the 20s, saying, we need to leave here with a proven commodity. I don't know who that would be, but you could get an asset in this draft. And then, oh, by the way, the Cardinals have kind of fully stamped a rebuild. They've kind of fully stamped, we're going to take this one step at a time, and we're kind of going to reset here. They still have a good amount of talent on the defensive side of the ball. But, Marvin Harrison was where my head goes with a player where we're going, whoa, he got moved, but you just think about all the checkpoints to get here. He meets them, to me, to get moved.
Might I say, the Rams, or the
that would be
in division. No, I veto.
No. Okay.
Veto.
Okay.
Chop it.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. But wouldn't that be fun?
I mean, in terms of team fit,
Jets
that would be great.
Are
you trading the 16th overall pick for Marvin Harrison Jr. though?
If the 3
If the 3 receivers are gone, if there's
I've talked about the middle of this draft being so interesting. There's not a lot of good players in the middle.
I've actually heard a lot about Cleveland doing that, and I mean that fits the narrative as well. 24, Cleveland ends up trading what used to be Jacksonville's pick to Arizona. And I feel like they're dumb enough of a front office to actually do that. So
no, but doesn't that trade look good for them now though, in terms of just trading back and just getting Mason Graham and getting all the draft capital you got? But that's not what this episode is for. But it does look good for them.
I'm still way too early on Hunter.
It is.
How about this? What about this? Just to strengthen it. This is the last one. Miami. I mean, they've been mocked to draft a receiver multiple times. They have 2 first-round picks. Another team that has 2 first-round picks that we had talked about, Ben. I mean, taking Denver's number 30 overall, I would say that's actually kind of worth it. So who knows? But just throwing ideas. Sorry, Ben, cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
We're looking at this differently. I'll be honest.
Neither of these players are. Well, yeah, I think you're Matt. I think you're thinking of teams that are we just need to get a guy, and I think Ryan's thinking of
I'm thinking of teams like
weapons.
I'm looking for teams where it's this guy puts us over the top. I'm thinking Panthers at 19. I'm thinking those kind of teams where it's I think that's where it's we need an answer. We need an answer at this position. And even if he is not the cleanest, profile 2 years into the NFL, we know he's talented, and we're arrogant enough that we believe we're going to get the most out of this player. So,
would you send him to New England?
Yeah,
I'm just saying. So, I mean, we've been in, New England and Philly have been in talks, I guess, over AJ Brown. Maybe we don't want to wait until, June 1st. Maybe we want to make a move now and make sure that we have a guy going into the season and training camp and yada, yada, yada. I don't know.
Well, in that same vein, if the Eagles have already agreed upon a trade for AJ Brown, I wouldn't be shocked if the Eagles did it. I would be disgusted. I'm so far out on Marvin Harrison through the first 2 years. I definitely don't view him in the same vein that the two of you guys do. But the conversation is definitely a fun one to be had. In terms of guys to be moved, both of mine are just not deep cuts. Mine are just surface level. Oh no, I cut myself with a butter knife. But sexy Dexy. If the Bears were just take our first round pick, we'll pay him the contract. Not I wouldn't be shocked by that, right? No. And then in the same vein, it's just a player that we've since the start of free agency that we've heard because he has not been able to find a deal. Is Jonathan Grenard. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets moved for a day 2 pick, and again a team just saying, well, we know this guy's proven. we're going to pay him money. We know he's a really, really good edge rusher, and we don't think we're going to be able to find one that's going to be able to walk in and do that. Like, I would just be flabbergasted if he's not traded at some point during the draft, because it seems like they just do not see eye to eye in terms of what they want to pay him on a contract. And again, we've talked now ad nauseum about this draft and the value that you may be getting with that second and third round pick. I would much rather send my second round pick to Minnesota for him than draft one of these guys. But those are not deep cuts at all. But like, Ryan, would you give up your first round pick for Sexy Dexy?
If that's it, yeah. If that's it. So here's the thing. I've been listening to a lot of it.
It was like a first this year and a second next year.
No.
It's similar to the Montez thing. It's the pick and the contract that it's like,
yeah. I'm not giving up more than the first. And the reason why I would give up the first is because, like, okay, so for example, I mean, we've talked about, Caden McDonald, like behind the scenes going to the Bears, and that's somebody I'm like, okay, sure, I could get around that. But like, I believe he's proven as a run stopper, but not as a pass rusher. And Dexter Lawrence gives you both that are proven. I could do this job, like, and I'm an all-pro at it. Just pay me. And the Bears are built to where in the future they will have money to pay this guy. So, like, I wouldn't be against it, but I'm not giving up more than the first-round pick, because if this guy, I mean, like I said, this guy's aging. I could get a younger guy that might be just as productive. Like, I don't think at this point, like, him requesting a trade and then it coming out that the contract negotiations and everything are kind of falling apart between him and New York. Like
$10 million off from each other, which
is okay. I'm just saying, like, with that being said, like, it kind of takes a little bit of leverage. I'm not saying all of it, but I'm just saying a little bit of leverage away from New York, because it's like, listen, I know what he wants and I could pay him that, but I don't want to give you first round capital for it, or first round plus capital for it. If it's a first and second next year, I'm out on it. But yeah, like I said, first round this year and that's it. I'm cool with it. You fix our interior D-line. Let's roll with Booker and Sweat on the outside, or a motivated Dayo Odeyingbo, and
yeah, it's gonna be a Dexter Lawrence trade is gonna have to be in the same vein that the AJ Brown trade was to the Eagles with the Titans a couple years ago. It's gonna be, we're trading for you and the contract is figured out. And it's not gonna be, we're trading for you and then 2 to 3 weeks from now, we'll figure it out. It's going to be, we're trading our first round pick, and when we trade for you, the contract is already figured out, and we're gonna as soon as you get in the building, you're gonna sign that. So it's definitely going to be in that same vein that it was with AJB.
I'm cool with it as long as they don't trade him to like anywhere else in the NFC North. Because I'd be like, man, that really sucked. We missed out on that. But yeah, I will tell you, and like you had said, like absolute like deep cut here, butter knife trade, right? We had talked briefly about the AJ Brown thing, and I do think that a trade could happen between the Eagles and Patriots as a part of that agreement. If this is going to happen post June 1st or something like that, or become, I don't know, whatever it means. I did build something, and Ben, I know we briefly talked about it in the group chat, so if you could just give me a little bit of a synopsis on what you think. My trade proposal was Eagles trading AJ Brown, their number 54, and then their number 114 to go back into the first round pick at number 31, 63, and 125. So they're falling behind 11 spots in the fourth. They're falling behind in the second, but they're moving up in the first in exchange for
you
AJ
get a first
Brown.
round pick. Yeah, you get a first round pick, but you're moving a couple spots back in the second and fourth. You still keep them, but you get your first round pick there. I think that's going to be close to the expected value. Again, this is a difficult conversation because he's not going to get traded before June 1st because of the cap hit for him. That being said, I wouldn't at all be surprised if if all the reporting that is out there that is true is like CBS put out a report. I think it was like this morning that there was a deal that was agreed upon between the Eagles and Patriots, and it just has to post June 1st. That trade's going to go through. Not that I think this is the case, not that I think it will happen by any stretch of the imagination, because as we saw with Max Crosby, there's a lot that can happen in the span of a month and a couple weeks. But I also wouldn't be shocked if the Patriots catered that pick 31, to what the Eagles would want. It's like, all right, like Eagles, what are we thinking about who you want this pick to be? And we'll pick it and we'll include him in there, and that'll be your quote unquote first round pick. That'd be your Zion Young in your situation here, right?
Right.
So, but again, that the whole stuff is just interesting. It's I sure hope that's not the case. I want a 27 pick, even if it's a second round pick in 27. Give me all the 27 picks as much as I possibly can have.
Yeah.
So,
anything else, gentlemen? Any other moves or anything off the top of your noggin?
Team specific, like watch out for the Cowboys. Like all the reports like right now and again, there could be a lot of different like smoke screens going on, which very well again could be the case. But it really does seem as if the Cowboys may be looking to parlay their picks to move up into like the top 3 or 4 of this class to get whatever edge rusher that they want, whether that's whether that's David Bailey. I don't think it's going to be Arvell Reese. It could be Arvell Reese. Maybe it's Ruben Bain. That's a whole thing that we did not touch on because I think it's a moot point. But if you aren't caught up on the Ruben Bain stuff, just it's out there. you can find it. But I'll leave it at that. But again, it's fun. Excited for the draft to roll around. I know Matt's excited for the draft to roll around. In terms of cut up, I know this stuff is going to be released in the days leading up to the draft. There'll be mock drafts on the channel. There'll at least be one. As of April 16th, there'll at least be one more, maybe 2 if we can figure something out here. But it has just been such a fun process to ride along with Matt through it all. It's again fun process to be able to ride along this draft process with Matt. I'm very, very, very glad that we were able to get your opinions on the draft and see where you lied. But we'll be back really quickly here to let Matt kind of give his closing thoughts.